Have you ever wondered why the Roman Empire did not extend beyond North Africa inwards to the rest of Africa? You may think it was economic crises, barbarian attacks, or lack of the necessary political strength. Maybe. But a major reason you may not know is that Roman forces were fought to a standstill in northern Africa by a powerful black queen known as Queen Amanirenas. Queen Amanirenas and her people played a major role in halting the expansion of the Roman Empire into Africa. As far back as 40 BC, there were powerful kingdoms in interior Africa, many of them ruled by powerful monarchs, one of which was Queen Amanirenas of the Kingdom of Kush. Besides successfully resisting the Roman military invasion of the Kingdom of Kush, Queen Amanirenas also established a peace treaty with Augustus Caesar, which exempted her people from paying tribute to the empire. Amanirenas, born around 57 BC into the Meroitic dynasty, was one of the female leaders who ruled the Kingdom of Kush. This was a Lower Nile territory mainly inhabited by the Nubians and located in modern-day Sudan, part of Egypt, and South Sudan. The kingdom was known for its wealth, advanced culture, and military strength, often challenging the influence of its northern neighbor, ancient Egypt. Unlike most of the world at the time, women were known as leaders in Kush, and there were several female rulers during its history. In the Nubian Valley, inhabitants worshipped the queen of all goddesses, Isis. Amanirenas followed in the footsteps of renowned predecessors like Queen Amanirenas and Queen Shanadakati and distinguished herself as the finest of her time. The precise details of Amanirenas' rise to the throne remain unclear due to a lack of well-documented records. However, historical evidence suggests that she probably inherited the position of queen likely through a hereditary succession system prevalent within the Meroitic dynasty. Amanirenas reigned in Nubia from 40 BC to 10 BC in the capital city of Meroe. She ruled alongside her husband, King Teretikos, presiding over the wealthy and prosperous kingdom. The Kingdom of Kush was a notable ancient African civilization that existed from around 1070 BC to 550 AD. The native language of the region was Meroitic, which researchers have yet to decipher to date. However, the titles Kore and Kandaka, which Amanirenas bore, indicate that she was an independently ruling queen, a commendable feat at a time when Egyptian and Roman powers were in full force. However, Amanirenas' reign encountered a significant challenge that tested her capabilities as a ruler. According to Janice Kamreen, curator of Egyptian art at the Metropolitan Museum, based on its position as an intermediary between the Mediterranean world and sub-Saharan Africa, Nubia, Kush, was a key transit point for luxury goods such as ivory and exotic objects. Of great importance was gold, a commodity found in the Nubian deserts and greatly prized by the Egyptians. To cater to the extravagant desires of their luxury-seeking elite, the Egyptians heavily relied on trade with Meroe. Amanirenas had an elaborate palace characterized by intricate brick-vaulted chambers, adorned with gold leaf and an impressive collection of gold blocks and ivory tusks. Through trade, she exchanged Nubian precious treasures for Egyptian commodities, including textiles, grain, bronze vessels, and glassware. However, a significant shift occurred 10 years into Amanirenas' rule. The political landscape changed as Augustus assumed power over Egypt, wresting it from the grasp of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. He declared himself emperor and converted Egypt into a Roman province, bringing his influence right to the doorstep of Queen Amanirenas. This would later affect the trade relationships between Egypt and the Kingdom of Kush. Soon after conquering Egypt, Augustus decided to continue expanding his empire along neighboring territories. But before leaving Egypt, he appointed a military colleague named Gaius Cornelius Gallus, a Roman poet and knight who was close to him. He gave Gaius the title of Praefectus Alexandriae Aegypti, meaning prefect of Alexandria and Egypt. Within a year of the conquest, the Egyptians in the southern region rebelled against Roman rule. To quell the dissent, Gaius Cornelius led his forces southwards to restore order. But he didn't stop there. Cornelius ventured further into the bordering Nubian territory and asserted Roman authority over the island of Philae. He subdued the local ruler there and bestowed the powerful title of Tyrannus, meaning tyrant, upon this ruler, in exchange for paying homage to Rome. And there, the Roman encroachment into the Kingdom of Kush started, a mistake that would spiral into years of brutal resistance by Queen Amanirenas, and at a great cost to both Rome and Kush. Interestingly, Cornelius's mistake didn't stop at asserting Roman control over the northern part of Nubia. In a display of intimidation and ego, he commissioned a large stone tablet in Philae to boast of his conquest. Eager to publicize his fame, he inscribed his victories in Latin, Greek, and hieroglyphic Egyptian. The monument, dated 16 April 29 BC, read in part, Gaius Cornelius Gallus, son of Gnaeus, the Roman cavalryman, first prefect of Alexandria and Egypt, after the defeat of kings by Caesar, son of the divine, and the vanquisher of Thebaid's revolution in 15 days. Meanwhile, Queen Amanirenas reluctantly accepted the annexation of a portion of her kingdom. Aware of the might of the Roman legions, she chose not to engage in battle at the moment. Instead, she kept a vigilant eye on the enemy's movements, bidding her time for a strategic opportunity. As the Roman-appointed Tyrannus ruled over the annexed Nubian regions, discontent among the locals grew. Under Cornelius's directives, he imposed higher taxes on traders operating along the borders and asserted tax rights over autonomous Nubian communities allied with Kush. Cornelius, on the other hand, continued his ego-driven celebrations, an establishment of lavish monuments in his honor. Unfortunately for him, Rome saw his extravagance as an affront. According to accounts by the Roman historian Cassius Dio, who lived from 155 to 235 AD, Cornelius set up images of himself practically everywhere in Egypt and inscribed a list of his achievements even upon the very pyramids. Cornelius's acts were in contradiction to the standard in Roman provinces, which sought to glorify Caesar and not the consuls or praetors. Attracting the rage of Emperor Augustus, he was subsequently disenfranchised, while the Roman Senate unanimously passed a verdict to convict him in the courts, strip him of his estate, and exile him from the empire. Unable to bear the fate awaiting him, Gaius Cornelius took his life. During and after Cornelius's time, the vast Roman Empire continued its expansion, making it a bit challenging for Emperor Augustus to oversee every corner simultaneously. Queen Amanirenas keenly observed these developments. In 26 BC, Augustus appointed Aelius Gaius, another Roman knight, as the new prefect of Egypt. However, the emperor ordered him to lead a military expedition to Arabia. As a result, a significant portion of the troops stationed in Egypt, about 15,000 soldiers from 3 legions, were relocated to secure the new territory in Arabia. This presented Queen Amanirenas with an opportunity to challenge Rome's power in the region. Here's the clever thing she did. While the Roman troops were being withdrawn from Egypt, Queen Amanirenas swiftly gathered her forces and mobilized them toward the north. Joining forces with King Teretikos, her husband, they commanded a formidable army of 30,000 warriors from Kush and embarked on a determined march along the Nile's mudflats and into Egypt. According to the historical account of Cassius, the Mareotic army advanced as far as the city called Elephantine, ravaging everything they encountered. If you're enjoying this documentary so far, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This is only the beginning of the movement. While the media keeps us distracted with celebrity news and drama, we're making documentaries on all of the real leaders and legends in our culture. Thank you for the support, and let's get back into it. The Meroitic army seized the entire Triacontationis region encompassing Syene, Philae, and Elephantine, which covered a vast territory of 200 square miles. The only well-documented record of the conflict between Queen Amanirenas and the Romans was written by the Greek historian Strabo around 21 AD in a document called Geographical Sketches, Geographica. Strabo revealed that the Nubians subjugated the local inhabitants in Egypt and toppled the statue of Caesar in those cities. They then retreated south, taking along valuable plunder, numerous Roman prisoners, and many Egyptian captives. To further insult the Romans and Emperor Augustus, Amanirenas decapitated a statue of Augustus, carrying away the bronze head as a trophy. Back in Meroe, Queen Amanirenas buried the bronze head beneath the entrance steps of a temple dedicated to the god Amun. The head displayed neatly disarrayed hair, protruding ears, and striking open eyes made of colored glass. David Francis, an interpretation officer at the British Museum, commented in an interview with Culture 24 that in burying the head, the Meroites ensured that everyone who entered the building would trample this image of the Emperor Augustus beneath their feet, ritually perpetuating their victory over the Romans. It served as a daily reminder to the queen and her people that the Roman Empire was not as formidable as it was perceived. Unfortunately, this initial victory was short-lived. Upon learning of the situation, Gaius Petronius, the acting prefect of Alexandria, took action. He assembled a formidable force consisting of 800 cavalry and 10,000 Roman infantry and set out to confront the Kushite army, which had retreated to the city of Celsius. Petronius dispatched envoys to demand the return of the captives. However, the envoys were perplexed when they arrived in Celsius. They discovered that there was no apparent male leader in command of the warriors. As King Therticus had died unexpectedly, possibly due to sickness or injury, the Roman forces didn't understand the concept of a queen ruling alone. As the queen's warriors gathered in Celsius, they readied themselves for battle with large oblong shield made from raw ox hide and armed with an assortment of axes, pikes, and swords. Though they outnumbered the Romans by nearly 3-1, Strabo noted that they were poorly marshaled and badly armed in comparison to the well-equipped and well-trained Roman legionnaires. The Romans pushed forward, forcing the Nubian warriors into retreat. Many of them fled and sought safety within the city or the desert. Some warriors tried to escape by wading into the Nile, aiming to take refuge on a small island. However, the Romans quickly secured rafts and boats, capturing the island and taking the warriors prisoner. Emboldened by their victory, the Romans penetrated deeper into Nubian territory than before. Petronius also apprehended some of Queen Amanirenas' generals, whom he interrogated about the leadership structure of the Kushite kingdom. They acknowledged the Kandake as a ruler, but cleverly diverted his attention with tales of a male leader. They disclosed that Akinadad, Queen Amanirenas' son, was supposedly based in the northern city of Napata, which held significance as the ancient capital and holy city, housing important temples and royal tombs. Unbeknownst to Petronius, this was a deception, as the Nubian rulers had abandoned Napata centuries earlier. Unsuspecting, Petronius confidently led his men towards Napata, convinced that a victory there would decisively subdue the Kushites once and for all. On the way, he captured Primus, modern-day Qasr Ibram, and established a fort there. He discovered to his frustration that Prince Akinadad was not in Napata, and the true capital, Meroe, was still more than 330 miles south. Furious at having been misled, Petronius burned the city to the ground and took its inhabitants as slaves to be transported back to Egypt. However, Queen Amanirenas' cunning plan succeeded. By leading Petronius on this long and arduous journey, she lured him far away. Having traveled over 570 miles from Sienne, Petronius now faced the reality that continuing further into the heart of the kingdom would be a perilous task. Petronius felt that the regions beyond would be difficult to traverse, so he withdrew, taking the greater part of the army with him. Amanirenas then counterattacked, fiercely pursuing the retreating Romans back to the fortified hilltop city of Primus. The queen, being a commanding presence on the battlefield, was described by Strabo as having a masculine character. She bore facial scars, revered for beauty by Meroe queens. During a clash with the Romans, an enemy soldier blinded her in one eye, but she waited for her wound to heal and then returned to battle. Greco-Roman perceptions viewed powerful foreign queens negatively, portraying them as manly women and a sign of a nation's barbarity. Petronius mocked her disability, calling her the one-eyed Candace, belittling her insight as a ruler. But Queen Amanirenas remained a fearsome and determined leader, defending her kingdom against the Romans. But to make matters worse for her, she lost her son Akinadad when the Nubian troops clashed with the Romans in Dhaka in 24 BC. Having already experienced the loss of her husband, her eye, and now her son, Amanirenas faced immense challenges as a leader. She lost many of her warriors too, with some taken captive, and the city of Napata having been pillaged and destroyed. Still determined and fueled by grief, the resolute Kandake fought on, now with only one thing left to fight for: her kingdom. Queen Amanirenas decided to switch from defensive fighting to attacking the Romans head-on, as she sought to prevent the permanent annexation of Kush to the Roman Empire. In 22 BC, she assembled a second powerful force of thousands of Kushite fighters and advanced toward Primus, where the Roman Empire's border was then situated. The geography indicated that the Kushite warriors likely surrounded Petronius and his men entirely. However, the Romans possessed lots of ballista, an ancient cannon with long-range capabilities, which made a direct assault by Amanirenas nearly impossible without without heavy casualties. Nevertheless, Petronius found himself encircled and unable to escape, resulting in a tense standoff. Petronius found himself desperate for a ceasefire. Since becoming the prefect of Egypt, Queen Amanirenas had relentlessly waged war against him, leaving him with no respite to fulfill his administrative duties or enjoy leisurely pursuits like the nobles in Alexandria. Now, they were surrounded and he sought a resolution quickly. Petronius proposed that Queen Amanirenas should meet with Emperor Augustus directly to resolve the conflict. In response, the proud Meroe warriors jokingly claimed they didn't know who Caesar was or where to find him. Eager to find a way out of the impasse, Petronius provided them with escorts to the Greek island of Samos, where Emperor Augustus was preparing for a military expedition to Syria. By sending her envoys instead of personally attending, Queen Amanirenas demonstrated her superiority to Emperor Augustus and Rome. She refused to travel hundreds of miles for negotiations since she had capable representatives to handle such matters. In her book, A Man Created God, journalist Selina O'Grady records that the Queen's ambassadors presented Augustus with a bundle of golden arrows and sent the message, the Candace, Latinized spelling of Candake, meaning queen in Meroitic, send you these arrows. They added that the emperor had two options for how to view the offering. If you want peace, they are a token of her warmth and friendship. If you want war, you will need them. The relentless 5-year war had taken a toll on Roman lives and resources, making continued conflict with Amanirenas an unappealing prospect for the empire. At the Treaty of Samos in 21 BC, Caesar Augustus recognized Kush's sovereignty and waived all claims to tribute. Roman troops withdrew from Primus and relinquished control of areas in the southern part of the 30-mile strip to the Kushites, establishing Dodecachonis as the new border. In an effort to appease the Nubian people, Augustus also directed his administrators to collaborate with regional priests to expand the temple at Calabasha and erect another at Dendur, adding his signature to the official treaty. This marked another step in acknowledging the strength and significance of Queen Amanirenas and her kingdom. In the end, the one-eyed queen emerged triumphant. As the Roman troops withdrew, the queen's fighters toppled the statues of Augustus that had been placed in the occupied towns. After the war, Amanirenas focused on rebuilding and prosperity. Her 11-year peaceful reign became Kush's golden age. She refused to remarry and later passed away in 10 BC. She was buried in Jebel Barkal, Sudan. The Nubians commemorated her with a wall painting in a pyramid chapel at Meroe, depicting her with a bow, arrows, and spear, leading 7 Roman captives, symbolizing her triumph and enduring legacy as a revered queen. She is truly a legend and will never be forgotten. Another legend that won't be forgotten is Sarah Rector. She became a millionaire at the tender age of 11, but schools never teach us about her. We did a documentary covering her story a few months ago. Click on it now to watch. I'll see you over there.